A few hours ago, a well-known German Russophobe and a reporter from the newspaper Bild, Julian Röpke, said that the whole of Europe is literally trembling with fear because of a telephone conversation between US President Donald Trump and Russian leader Vladimir Putin. According to this German journalist, Putin and Trump discussed the future fate of not only Ukraine, but also the whole of Europe. At the same time, this Russophobe expressed confidence that the decisions that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin will make, in any case, will have devastating consequences for the national security of all European countries. He believes there is a strong likelihood that Donald Trump will accept all of Putin's conditions. If this happens, Ukraine will lose a significant part of its territory. Moreover, European countries such as Poland, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Sweden, and Finland are confident that after negotiations between the United States and Russia, there is a strong indication that Washington will agree to withdraw the entire American contingent from Europe. Reports indicate that Britain and France are also preparing for the worst-case scenario for Paris and London, after talks between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. However, some European countries view the rapprochement between the United States and Russia very favorably. For instance, Hungarian Foreign Minister Péter Szijjártó said that normalization of relations between Moscow and Washington would improve the situation in Eastern and Western Europe. Péter Szijjártó observed that historically, Europe thrived only when the United States and Russia maintained good relations and friendly ties between Moscow and Washington. This is a historical fact. The better the relations between Russia and the United States, the better for all of us, for the Europeans, Hungarian Foreign Minister Péter Szijjártó said. Commenting on the telephone conversation between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that this is one of the steps in restoring relations between Russia and the United States, as well as preparations for a face-to-face meeting between the two leaders on neutral territory. Dmitry Peskov also added that after this telephone conversation between the two leaders, the Kremlin administration would provide journalists with some of the results of these negotiations. My dear truth seekers, while I was making this video, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin were discussing the future fate of not only the Kiev regime but also the so-called European leaders, who continue to supply Ukraine with weapons and money. And everything that happens indicates that these two leaders are likely to be able to agree on very complicated issues that will change the present look of modern Europe. Meanwhile, reputable Ukrainian political scientist Ruslan Bortnik said that the United States and Russia have begun the process of dividing Ukraine. According to him, European leaders and the Kiev authorities, led by Zelensky, will not be able to do anything to somehow interfere with this process. 3 years of fighting have put Kiev and Europe in a very weak position. This has led to their inability to dictate their terms during the negotiation process. Moreover, Ukraine and Europe are so weak that their representatives are not even informed about the topics discussed between the United States and Russia. According to this Ukrainian political scientist, the Kiev authorities and European leaders can make dozens of loud statements to reporters and make various demands to Moscow. However, all this is just a simple meaningless shaking of the air. If Putin and Trump come to an agreement, the Kiev authorities will sign any deal, even in light of the unwavering support from the European Union and Britain. Moreover, Ruslan Bortnik also expressed confidence that Putin would achieve compliance with all Russian requirements. In fact, the United States does not care what territories Ukraine will lose during the signing of a peace treaty with Moscow. Washington's main goal is to preserve the Ukrainian state on Europe's map, even if Kiev permanently loses access to the Black and Azov Seas. Meanwhile, on March 18, at 8 p.m. Moscow time, the first details of the telephone conversation between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin began to appear. It is reported that the two leaders discussed global issues for more than 2 hours. And it turned out to be a record for the duration of telephone conversation between the Russian and American presidents in the history of relations between the two countries. As it turned out, during this telephone conversation, Putin clearly outlined the key condition for resolving the conflict in Ukraine. According to Putin, this is a complete cessation of military aid to Kyiv, and the cessation of mobilization in Ukraine. Moreover, even though the White House and the Kremlin keep the main topics of this telephone conversation secret, insiders have already begun to report some details. In particular, insiders in the Kremlin report that Vladimir Putin has made it clear to his American counterpart that Moscow is not indifferent to the fate of Russian citizens in Pridnestrovye, and that Russia will do everything to ensure the safety of its citizens. Thus, Vladimir Putin made it clear that in addition to liberating the entire Donbass, establishing a land corridor to Pridnestrovye is also one of Moscow's strategic goals. And given the fact that this corridor will run through the south of Ukraine, it's not inconceivable that during the signing of the peace treaty, not only the entire territory of the Zaporizhia and Kherson regions, but also Odessa and Nikolaev will come under the control of the Russian Federation. Moreover, it is reported that Donald Trump reacted quite calmly to Putin's words. All this indicates that the US president may agree that Russia will gain control over the entire southern part of Ukraine, including the strategically important city of Odessa. It seems that the Kyiv authorities also learned about the discussion between Russia and the United States about the future fate of the southern regions of Ukraine. So, a few minutes ago, the head of the presidential office, Andriy Yermak, said that Ukraine would never give up its territories, as well as the idea of joining NATO. Moreover, he also stated that Ukraine would not disarm its army, and would not have a neutral status. Nevertheless, even pro-government Ukrainian experts have admitted that if Trump and Putin agree on Ukraine, Kyiv will have to accept all of Moscow's terms. Meanwhile, many have noticed that the head of the Kyiv regime, Volodymyr Zelensky, has not given an interview for 2 days, and refuses to address the nation via video link. As it turned out, this political clown has suffered another nervous breakdown. Doctors are currently trying to bring him to his senses. Well, it looks like this dead man walking feels the impetuous approach of his end.